For timpani, there are 4 key things to lock into your percussionist brains about playing. The first one is a dollar bill. Play with your mallets a dollar bill apart, not right together in the same area of the drum and not way far apart on the edges. So have them imagine a dollar bill between their mallets. Second thing, again, do not play in the dead center of the instrument. You can hear the difference. And do not play on the edge. So dollar bill apart, between the center and the rim. Third thing, keep your thumbs up. Now this is called French grip on timpani mallets. There is such a thing as German grip, and we do play similar to a snare drum. But in my experience watching professional orchestras and talking with percussionists, French grip is largely preferred. And for me personally, it guarantees the rebound. This lets us know we're going to be bringing the sound out of the instrument. I tell students, draw the sound up instead of hammering the sound down. Draw the sound up. And the last thing, and this is a huge pet peeve of mine, and I'm sure several other percussionists, even in all-state or honors bands, you'll see someone playing timpani and double bouncing. Do not, under any circumstances, unless it is specifically written in your music, double bounce on the timpani, because you're muting the ring. So we want to let it ring. And a little party trick that you can use to teach your students about where to hit the instrument is with a penny or a dime or some type of coin. I'm going to set it on the top of the head toward the rim. And if I play in the center, nothing really happens to the dime. But if I play where I'm supposed to, partway between the rim and the center, those sound waves are scooping down through the bowl and up the other side and resonating throughout the room. Another thing that's sort of a party trick that they say professional players will not use, and you really realistically can't do it when you're tuning in the middle of a piece, which happens a lot in professional orchestras. But it's something that's fun to teach kids, and it gives them a little more confidence when they're tuning. And so another headache on timpani is tuning them. A lot of times when I taught junior high and high school, I helped them tune ahead of time, or we had things set up. You have to be really specific. You have to make sure that these gauges are correct. But one thing is, don't tune with the mallet. Tune with your fingertip, because you'll hear more attack and it will be a little easier to hear. And so often timpani only have the bell player next to them to help them out, and that's such a high octave. So see if you can assign a trombone player each piece or each concert or each rehearsal to help the timpani tune down in that low range. Sometimes it's easier to hear. If you're having issues with your pedal, which this timpani currently is, it's not sticking where I need it to. If I want it to be tuned to a C or a D, the pedal itself is relaxing and not staying where I need it to stay. One trick we used, and this is just, doing the best with what you got. We had our shop teacher cut different sized blocks of wood, and we would stick it under the pedal and make sure that pedal stayed where we needed it to stay. It's not ideal. Talk to your rep and have them repair it as soon as they can, but in the meantime, it's a good way to keep it in tune. So let's talk about one more party trick. This is something that professionals don't use because it's not realistic in the middle of a piece when you're retuning an instrument, which happens quite often. But if the student has someone play the note and then the student themselves hums the note, if the student hums the correct note into the timpani, right around where you'd play it, the timpani itself is going to resonate. So let me show you. Here's what it sounds like when you hum the right pitch. You might not hear it on the video, but it's coming back to me, to my ears, very strong. But if I hum something that's out of tune with the timpani, I don't hear anything. hopefully you can hear that sympathetic resonation when you do that. So like I said, you cannot use that very often, but it just helps students when they're in rehearsal become one step more comfortable. And another quick thing that I think is worth saying, I was never any good at tuning a timpani until I could tune a guitar. It's so much easier to have something in your hands that you can manipulate and physically see changing, and there are less variables with guitar. With a timpani, it might not be your student's fault at all. If any of these spots on the drum are out of tune, which can easily happen, then the timpani itself is not going to be in tune with itself. So it'll be much harder for a novice student to get what they want for the pitch. Let's talk timpani mallet selection. So these are American Custom Vic Firth. These are staccatos, and they are, in my opinion, about as staccato as you might ever need with your middle school and high school groups. And with something like these Vic Firth Generals, you'll have less attack, a little softer start to the note. You might in your school have Cartwheels, the really thick ones that look like they're sort of squared off on top. They're really cushy. I found some Cartwheels, so I thought I'd give a little sound comparison of the 3 different types. You can hear the more attack. Changing my technique when I'm playing, it's just a difference in density of the head. And something I didn't think of to say earlier, when you go to mute the instrument, if you did have some kind of long note or long roll, do a little cuff and kind of slide in. You don't want to hear a change in pitch, but you also don't want to hear the tap. That's something that your timpanist will have to perfect. These types of timpani mallets, though, if you have something like this, those are a novelty. You will not need to use them for the majority of your time, unless it specifically calls for them. It's just not something that is too likely for you to need. Another thing I recommend right away for your percussion section is a stool for the timpani, just a regular bar stool. Because if a student is going to be playing 2 or 3 drums, it's helpful to have a reference point to center your body. They don't usually hop up and sit on the stool. It's more of a lean, just a place to center yourself. So then you can know when your body turns and you're playing the low and the medium, and then if you have the 4th, the high one. Even if you just have the 2, instead of moving around a bunch, walking around, you have this place where you are locked. And then for more involved pieces in high school, you might need to be using those tuning pedals in the middle of the song. You're going to need some place to balance yourself. A lot of times you'll see professionals sit back on that stool and change the pedal while they're playing. One last thing, if you see how I'm holding my hands here and how it looks like I'm about to lift up on the rim, I don't, but remind your students when they're moving the timpani, never hold them on the rim like this or pull on the rim to move the timpani somewhere. Reach below to the braces that you see that are that same brown color as the rim. Pull up on those, lift the pedal, and wheel that way. Because if they do pull on that rim, it's going to adjust the intonation of the timpani and make it more difficult to stay in tune.